Mary's Magnificent Meat Market Empire. A Study in Fractured Nursery Rhyme. By Edwin Campbell. Fractured Nursery Rhyme. Mary had a little lamb, her father shot it dead. Now when she takes the lamb to school, it's between two hunks of bread. Mary had a little lamb, she kept it in a pit, and when the price of lamb went up, she shot the little shit Mary. Had a little lamb, you've heard this tale before now. When she hands her plate across, she asks for a little bit more. Nobody expected Mary Henderson to become the most ruthless entrepreneur in the history of Lincoln Elementary School, but then again, nobody expected her father to have such terrible aim with a hunting rifle either. It all started on a perfectly ordinary Tuesday morning when Mary's father, Bob, decided to impress the neighbors with his marksmanship skills. Unfortunately, Bob's definition of marksmanship was somewhat different from everyone else's. While aiming for the tin cans lined up on the fence, he managed to accidentally dispatch Mary's beloved pet lamb, Woolbert, who had been innocently grazing nearby. "Well," said Bob, scratching his head and looking at the deceased lamb, "waste not, want not." Mary, who had inherited her father's practical nature but thankfully not his aim, saw opportunity where others might see tragedy. By Wednesday morning, she had convinced her mother to help her transform Woolbert into what she proudly announced to her classmates as artisanal free-range lamb sandwiches. The other third graders were initially horrified, then curious, then absolutely ravenous when they caught a whiff of Mary's gourmet creation. Within hours, she had a waiting list of customers and 3 kids offering to trade their entire Halloween candy stash for just one bite. Mrs. Pemberton, the cafeteria supervisor, watched in bewilderment as children abandoned their standard-issue fish sticks in favor of Mary's mysterious sandwiches. "What exactly are you feeding them?" she demanded. "Premium locally sourced protein," Mary replied with the confidence of a seasoned businesswoman, "with organic whole-grain bread and farm-fresh herbs." Word of Mary's culinary success reached her Uncle Jeremiah, a somewhat questionable character who ran a livestock redistribution center on the outskirts of town. Jeremiah, recognizing a kindred entrepreneurial spirit, offered to supply Mary with additional inventory. "You've got a real head for business, kiddo," he said, sliding a briefcase across the kitchen table. "How would you like to expand your operation?" Within a month, Mary had transformed the old root cellar behind her house into what she euphemistically called her protein preservation facility. Neighbors began to notice that various farm animals in the area seemed to be disappearing, only to reappear later in Mary's increasingly elaborate lunch presentations. The situation escalated when Mary began accepting custom orders. Tommy Watkins wanted a roast beef sandwich for his birthday. Sarah Mitchell requested something exotic for show and tell. Even the teachers started placing discreet orders through intermediaries, claiming they were asking for a friend. Mary's operation became so sophisticated that she hired her little brother Danny as her official taste tester and quality control manager. Danny, who was only 6 but had the entrepreneurial instincts of a Fortune 500 CEO, suggested they diversify into breakfast and dinner markets. "Think about it, Mary," he said, counting their weekly profits with the concentration of an accountant. "We could corner the entire elementary school food market, maybe even expand to the middle school." The turning point came when Principal Hawkins discovered Mary's underground meat empire during a routine inspection of the school cafeteria. He found 17 students lined up outside the utility closet where Mary had established her distribution center, cash in hand, waiting for their daily protein fix. "Miss Henderson," Principal Hawkins announced over the PA system, "please report to my office immediately and bring your business records." Mary arrived at the principal's office with a briefcase full of carefully organized receipts, customer testimonials, and what appeared to be a 5-year expansion plan. Principal Hawkins had dealt with many unusual situations in his 20-year career, but never had he encountered a third grader with her own incorporated lunch business. "Mary," he began carefully, "I need to ask you some questions about your entrepreneurial activities." "I prefer artisanal food services," Mary corrected, adjusting her tiny business suit that her mother had somehow been convinced to buy. And I should mention that our customer satisfaction rate is 97%. The other 3% were vegetarians who didn't read the fine print. The investigation that followed revealed that Mary had somehow managed to create the most efficient farm-to-table operation in the county's history, despite being 8 years old and technically operating without any permits whatsoever. The health department was baffled, the agriculture commissioner was impressed, and the IRS sent a very confused auditor who kept asking if there was an adult he could speak with. In the end, Mary was forced to shut down her lunch empire, but not before negotiating a deal to become the official student nutrition consultant for the entire school district. Her final act of entrepreneurial genius was convincing the school board to pay her a consulting fee for transitioning her customer base back to the regular cafeteria food. At the celebration dinner her parents threw to commemorate her retirement from the food service industry, Mary looked around the table at her family and smiled. When her mother asked if she wanted seconds, Mary held out her plate with the confidence of someone who had conquered the elementary school food market and lived to tell the tale. "Just a little bit more," she said, already planning her next business venture, a summer lemonade stand that would revolutionize the beverage industry. After all, she had learned the most important lesson in entrepreneurship. There's always room for expansion, and there's always someone willing to pay for quality.